increase the number of petals. In the 7 spheres, the number of the petals was only 6, which we call the primary pulse. But as we added the additional 6 ones, the number of the petals had increased. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Petals which are inside the central sphere, which before were only 6. And plus additional 6, 1 straight up, 1 straight down, top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left. You can see this clearly, right? Cool. This is very important for the later. This is incomplete flower of life, but it's called egg of life with 13 spheres. And this is how it looks like. So when we are doing with a gas, that's how it needs to be done. So everything starts with the primary pulse, or with this one. Okay. All right. Difference between imagination, visualization, creative visualization. Imagination. You pump into the bus or into the train, you start to watch through the window, your consciousness is on autopilot. You start to feel, think about many things, about expectations for the future, analyzing what will happen if this situation comes true, and so on and so forth, or my projects, or blah blah, and so on and so forth. In other words, you are not much of the controller of the consciousness. Visualization is when you change that and you take control of it. For example, you slow down and you start to visualize a cube which is colored, for example, blue, and which rotates in the center of your head, which means you have used the power of your will to create certain content inside the consciousness, and you're holding to that content, which means that's called visualization. And the creative visualization is one step further, when you add plus emotion into that visualization. For example, I'm visualizing that there is a beautiful Ferrari parked in front of the house, and I'm going and I'm just sliding on the surface, the metal, and I can sense more detail from the visualization, if you know what I'm trying to say. So which means the 7 spheres, the 13 spheres, the 19 spheres has to be done with creative visualization, where the energy needs to move through those spheres. It has to be done with closed eyes, and like I mentioned before, the energy needs to literally be transmitted into the spheres. All these crop circle messages are telling us a story which we need to decode to be able to understand what is happening. We already been through this stuff, how these 6 petals or primary pulse is created. They have left dots for us that this is just the basic. We have to build the primary or the first layer, if you like. When that one is built, now we have 2 dots everywhere and 4 dots another place, which is clearly indicating you have to build the second floor, second layer, whatever you want to call it. But this does not end, it continue to progress further. And what is interesting, in the central sphere we have definitely a movement in this direction, which is activating the whole structure. Anyway, 3 layers. First layer, 7 spheres created by green one, white one, indigo violet, yellow, red, orange, blue. That's where, as you see, we are going like a spiral. So which means the next step is again to go further like a spiral. We end with the blue one, and the first gap in a fractal movement is this one. That's the start of the second movement or the second layer. This one you can detect that it's intercepting your crown chakra in one point. It's almost touching your right shoulder, 5 centimeters away from your shoulder, and 45 degrees up right from your right shoulder, you get the reference for the center of that sphere. This one is 45 degrees up left from your left shoulder. It's almost touching your left shoulder, 5 centimeters away from your left shoulder, and in one point it's intercepting the crown center once again. Yellow one, very easy, almost full geometrical projection, straight to your left, because now we are not like this, we are like this, and for us it will be from our left. If you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Is the crown chakra the pineal gland location?
Sorry, buddy?
No.
Crown chakra, is that the pineal gland
No,
location?
no. It's actually on the top of the head.
Okay.
So, which is, there are two actually, one on the top of it and one behind, but you will not do it right, just concentrate on the top of the head, it will be by default. Anyway, the next one is 45 degrees down left from the feet point, is intercepting the feet point, that's the red one. 45 degrees down right from the feet point, intercepting the feet point, and again the blue one is almost the same, one almost full geometrical projection from the central one to the right this time. Okay? So that's the second one. As you can see, we stopped with the blue one, we continue with white one, and indigo violet, yellow, red, orange, and blue. Again, the next logical movement is this one. So that's the one. This third layer, you can see this one is 45 degrees up right from your base center, and it's perfectly touching the central one. Here it is. This one is very easy, it's just positioned right above us. The bottom of it is touching the top of our head. This one is again 45 degrees from the base center. This time is up left. This is 45 degrees down left this time. The red one is very easy, we are standing on top of it. So which means the whole structure has to be 3 times the size of us. And the 45 degrees down right from the base center is the last 19 one, which is 45 degrees down right from the base center. Now, take a look. The second layer, every sphere is slightly penetrating into the central sphere. All of those periphery ones are penetrating into the central sphere just a little, and they're overlapping or penetrating into each other just a little. Can you see it?
Half a petal.
More petals?
Half a petal.
So those are the petals that we were observing with the second layer or 13 spheres. But the third one, every sphere is perfectly touching the central sphere, and it's perfectly touching each other. So that's the difference between the second layer and the third layer. In other words, the whole structure expands. It starts from the central one and expands in this way, and then those 6 spheres are a little bit further away from the central sphere. And those third ones are even further away from the central sphere. So the 3 layers are on different plane, how should I put it? If you know what I'm trying to say. They have a distance from the central sphere. You can see this clearly, right? Okay, let's move on. That's how the whole structure looks like when it's accomplished with gas, which means you start with the green one, and then, but in order to do this, you have to spend some time to learn where each sphere is standing, if you know what I'm trying to say. So it will take a while. With the genuine ones, everything counts. So as you can see, they have clearly depicted, in order to make this field functional or to produce electricity, as this Indonesian guy is saying, with the chi energy, this one needs to be rotated. How it needs to be rotated is directed this direction.
So counterclockwise.